Hello, everybody, and welcome to Face the Facts. We are back for episode 2. For all of those who are coming in, this show ain't nothing but people talking shit, and today I'm joined by none other than Minadan. Minadan, what's up, man?
How's it going, Fax? Pleasure to be on the network finally. Network debut for me.
I know, it's exciting. It's exciting
Yeah.
for me too. Get a little something, get a little somebody making their network debut on my show. It means everything to me, nothing to nobody else, but hey, good enough.
Right?
Um, we got some things to talk about, as people can tell by the title. Today is going to be on trial the exoneration of Mike Mutnansky. So we'll kind of just jump right into that first so we can get all that out of the way. Um, this isn't going to be just the same thing as where it is of Mike and the Minifans, Menors Live, and then Face the Facts, where everyone's talking about the show. It is going to be a little bit because obviously there are topics that me and whoever my guest is, in this case, Mina Dan, want to cover. So let's talk about Mutt because there were a couple of things, and then you had messaged me on Friday after Mike and the Minifans, and you had said, hey, I got to defend my boy. I got to defend my boy Mutt. So obviously, everybody knows with everything that went on with the unnamed show, him not accepting the job, his behind the scenes deal with Mohegan's Son. He had also put it out in the Mutt Stack, essentially the same thing that he had said on the unnamed show. His loyalty lies with Mohegan's Son all the way from before he even debuted on EI. So a lot of people were pissed off, but you said you had a defense. So I'm gonna go ahead and let you take the floor, kind of get your idea on it. We can discuss it a little bit.
So, first, when I first heard Unnamed, I was equally as pissed as everybody. Let me be clear about that. Because for me, as a Barstool fan, I would take the Barstool job in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And this is going to sound crazy. I was messaging back and forth with Sneaks a little bit, going back and forth with about a couple of things. And I asked him about the money. I asked him about offering the Barstool job. And the first thing he said to me was, we never talked about location, right? Everybody always like, oh yeah, Mutt can be a blogger. Well, great. Mutt's not a Will Compton, a Taylor Lewan, anybody like that who's bigger Barstool personality. Let's get that out of the way first. Mutt would have to move. Let's just be honest. Dave's not going to let him work in Boston unless he opens a Boston office, which hinges everything on every argument. If that happens, then everything changes. Let's be honest here. Mutt's also been a punching bag for Kirk for years since his start at EEI. Like, people seem to forget all that, Battle of the Brainless, all that fun stuff. Do you really think he wants to deal with Kirk again? He loves, I hate to sound like Mutt here, but he loves coming on the show a couple times a month where he can just talk about his gambling. That as crappy as his gambling is, as crappy as his horse picks are, he can talk about them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's making a ton of money off the Mutt stack. I can tell you just from personal side, I think there's some more money that he's making than he's telling. I'll just say it that way. I think he put the low ball on that number.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because like you get weird people that, like, if the Mohegan Sun or somebody like that is donating money, right? You're gonna make some more money off that you're not talking about. There's paid subscribers. I don't know the numbers. That's just a guess on my part, obviously, with everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest thing. Like, I mean, obviously everybody criticized it. I'd be honest, I'd take the job in 2 seconds. I'll just say it that way. But I will also tell you this: as somebody who has a fiance, I would have to talk to my fiance. Like, there wouldn't just be a I'm going to take a job. So I'll turn around and ask you, Facts. You have 2 kids.
Yep.
Obviously, your wife.
Yep.
If you weren't in the military, let's just clarify that,
Yep.
and you get offered the job where you are right now, and they say, okay, we're going to offer you $100K, whatever the number doesn't matter in this case, the money part.
Yeah.
We're going to offer you that. The catch is you have to move to New York or Chicago. What would you say?
So, I mean, for me, that's why I disagree with them, because no matter what, like, those locations are not necessarily ideal for me, no matter what. But the job within itself is what's ideal. It's what everybody wants to do. You know, everybody who goes on these shows, whether it's on Kirk's network or doing their own stuff on their own little Twitter pages or YouTube channels or whatever, they don't want to admit it because they feel like they sound ridiculous. but I don't care if I sound ridiculous in saying that I like Barstool. I want to work for Barstool because it's a company where you just get to give your unfiltered takes on sports and you get paid to do it. It's a fucking crazy world. It's like it doesn't even make sense, but it works really well. So I'd take it, and if I did though, and it had to deal with going to New York, Chicago, I definitely would have to add certain parameters to that contract in which I'd be signing, as far as like moving costs, as far as like needing things in order to compensate for the cost of living and where I'm going to. But if I had to choose, more than likely, I would probably try to go to Chicago of the two, just because I'm more comfortable with the area. That's only 4 hours away from where I grew up, and I got family outside of like Chicago, right on the outskirts. So that'd be comfortable. But for me, for Mutt, I don't really see why he would have a problem relocating. I know he loves Boston. I know he loves that area so much, but so many people do, yet they're still able to cover it from somewhere else. And I guess a question to turn around on you would be do you really think Mutt couldn't make like video form content? Because I feel like he could at least give that a shot, because other than the horse racing stuff that he's already done with Ilio, he's doing this podcast. Like, that's going to be happening. So he is trying his hand at this entertainment format. And I'm curious as if you think that he could do that throughout Barstool. And I don't know if it'd be by himself. Obviously, he would probably be with other people. But do you think that would be successful in the regular Barstool world, Kirkman Head Show aside? Do you think that would kind of pick anything up?
I go back and forth on that, to be perfectly honest, because look, as bad as it sounds, we saw what he did at WEI at nights. Like, we saw the ratings. Everybody can make fun of it, but
Yeah.
it was crap. I mean, Tim and Canton called in to troll him every time. You know, he loved talking to him, but you got people like that. That's it. Like, I listen to WEI. I'm from New York, but I listen to EI every chance I can, or I could, until obviously Kirk left.
Yep.
I wouldn't listen to Mutt at night, and I love sports just as much as anybody else. And that's not even at Mutt. That's at nighttime sports radio. That's at the Jonathan Coleman's that hosts ESPN, which is a bigger scale. But like, I don't think he could. I think he would end up being a blogger there, which is where we get into the realm. Is he that big of a star where Dave would let him stay in Boston? And also, let's also take this into effect. It's not just him making the decision. His wife is a teacher. His wife just can't pack up and move, and there's a lot of job searching that would be happening.
Yeah, that's also very fair. And I mean, I guess that does also pull some gravity. Like, my situation is slightly different. Like, when you did ask me that question, obviously because it's the military, so I'm used to moving place to place. But for him, yeah, I know that she definitely has her feet set there, and she's been doing it there for a while. So going from that place of comfort where you've been for most, if not all, of your kids' lives, a lot of your own life, and then to pick it up and move it just so your husband can go talk about sports to a very centralized audience, yeah, that would be quite the shift. And also, you got to take into account he's on the older side, and you have people who have established themselves within Barstool who are already on the older side, like Brandon Walker, and then obviously, Big Cat and PFT have their own thing already. That's never being touched. But for Mutt to like go into Chicago and just seeing him in like the Chicago office, I don't know how well that would mesh versus if he went to like somewhere like New York, where you have people more around his age and people kind of more around his likeness. You have like Chris Clemmer, you have like Cons over there. They're kind of like, they're all that like old like dad energy to a T. And I feel like if anything, that would be more comfortable for him. But New York is also a very big move. So it would be interesting to see where he would end up if Dave were to make him a move. But at the same time, you never know. Dave might let him stay in Massachusetts, like in this hypothetical, because he's associated with Kirk. But then that kind of circles back to your point, is like, does he want to deal with Kirk on an employed basis where he is going into Kirk's show and he's getting the shit, and you can tell that he likes to do it, but also you can tell that sometimes it gets to him a little bit and he doesn't like it. So I can see where he's coming from, but I cannot I would not turn that down if I was in his situation, even with the Mohegan Sun stuff.
I'll also tell you this, though. First of all, if you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to Battle of the Brainless from EEI with Mutt and Curtis. I don't know if you have, but I would recommend it for anybody who's trashing Mutt for being, because he went through hell at EEI. I'll just say it that way on the morning show. Obviously, a lot of it was bits and a lot of it was even good fun. But ask the Kevin from Bristol's how many times they called about Mutt's son and all that fun stuff. But the point, right? The point is, the other thing is he goes, so he moves to Chicago, whatever. He takes it. Who's to say Dave's going to say, okay, you can cover Boston sports? So now we start to turn into, okay, Mutt, we might need you to cover Chicago because you're not a big enough superstar to cover Boston. And we've already got Dave talking about it. And you don't want to oversaturate that market, which I think is the other point of this.
Yeah. That's fair. But what about his let's get into the podcast part. So he has this coming out. It's coming out this Thursday, I believe, on the debut of the NFL season. I do not see a lot of people tuning in. Like, I might try to see like for the first episode, he might get some, but on Thursday night, on the debut of NFL football, people are going to be locked into that, like 100%. There's going to be some pre-shows that come out a day or maybe 2 days before, but on the actual day, they're trying to make it like, I'm assuming they're going to be trying to make it like a pre-show.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Obviously, we don't know all the details of everything that's come out. Nobody really knows, which is the fun game of when is it going to come out? Are they going to drop it at 4 p.m. on a Thursday and cover all the games, or are we going to get a pre-show? Look, the thing is, he's not going to get a lot of viewers. We all know that. Nobody's going to fight you on that topic.
Yeah.
He just isn't, because most of his fans are EI fans. There's no traditional Muttstack fan. I'll just say it that way. Everybody's going to get butthurt about that, but that's the truth. Kirk always says it. People mock him for it. But look, he got a lot of his fans through EI. He got a lot of his fans through Kirk. And Dave talking about him on a name. Let's just be honest there. I think, and this is where I keep going back to, I still think there's a negotiation happening between him and Barstool behind the scenes. So maybe when this Mohegan Sun deal ends, maybe there's a possibility that we get him there to Barstool.
So what makes you think that there is this deal that is happening behind the scenes? Because Dave tends to be pretty like dead set on pack everything up and leave now. Like I've seen a couple of like clips of Dave, especially back in the day when they were hiring interns. And I think there was like one clip where he was like hiring his guy, and during the interview, one of the kids had said like, "Oh, I got to finish college or whatever." And David asked him, "Oh, would you drop out right now to be my guy?" And the kid had said, "Oh no, I wouldn't do that." And then boom, he didn't have the job just like that. So is that scenario very similar as to what happened here on Thursday, where Mutt didn't drop everything to go over there, kind of like how Brandon had and how others had in the past?
I would think that. I won't disagree with any of that. But the thing is, and Big Cat brought it up on Tuesday's show, Dave wants him because he doesn't want to be associated with Barstool. And that's just Dave's way of thinking. And Dave, and look at everybody that Dave's hired. I don't want to work for this place. I don't want to work for this place. And obviously there's been some that have left that have said the same thing. But like, we need to take into the fact that he still likes Mutt. Mutt does the horse racing. Yeah. Yes, Freddie, I do. It's just hypothetical, Freddie. Let's be honest here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy though. Like let's transition though. Like everybody criticizes Mutt for not moving, right? Or everybody criticized him
for not taking the job.
Taking the job. Where's Metters moving? I don't see Metters jumping across the pond. Oh no, I need a 2-year contract. I need this. I need that. I need rent. I need this. I need that. I need $100K. Right? Everybody criticizes him, and rightfully so for a lot of stuff. But you have a lot of idiot fans that are just coming out and just saying it for the hell of it, just to make themselves look good, just to make Kirk happy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Some people are just jumping on the train, and I feel like that was definitely the pot calling the kettle black when Menners was stating that. I understood that Menners was frustrated, and I agree with that sentiment. And for him, his excuse is always like, "Oh man, but it's such a big move, blah blah blah." But
Mhm.
then you see the negotiations that he's putting out there. He's trying to negotiate like the rumor mill of Caleb Williams before he got drafted. How
Yeah.
Caleb Williams, people were saying Caleb Williams was trying to get equity in the Chicago Bears
Hmm.
before in order to get drafted, and everyone was like, "That's fucking ridiculous." And then Menners is doing the same exact thing. He's like, "I want it to be a relationship, a working relationship. I want to co-own. I want this and that." And then on top of that, he said his salary, moving, everything like that. But if it's this job that you've been clamoring for on something that you've loved for so long, you would think that you would just fight tooth and nail to get to that place. You know, if you say, "Hey, if I have the job, I'll get there right now." Simple as that. And with neither of those two doing that, yeah, it frustrates. Now it's frustrating with Manners, obviously, because it's more of a niche,
Hmm.
area. But with Mud especially, I think that's why everyone got frustrated, because there are a lot of people who would be like, "Boom, let's go, let's do it, let's just deal with the bullshit now of moving and getting where we have to go." But then once all of that smooths out, the payoff is going to be so much better than the stress I'd have to deal with at first.
I think that's fair, but I think we also have to remember all those people that are saying yes. Where are they? Like you have John, who obviously said he would move, which we know that. Try to get John on tonight, obviously, to ask him just bluntly about it, like if he was the only one, but like that's the one person that came out and said they would actually move. You
Yeah,
know, it's great for Philly Drew to say that, obviously leading from this week. It's great for him to say that, but when push comes to shove, is he actually going to do it? He's got a young girlfriend. Like, I
yeah.
mean, we could say that about everybody else that was in the producer search. Would they actually do it? That's the real question.
Exactly, and I feel like that's kind of been Barstool's MO for as long as at least I've been following it, which
Mhm.
all the other stuff I haven't been following that too long, but I've tried to see some behind the scenes stuff, and that seems to be the MO because I talk about it so much. When it does come to discussions on contracts and getting new people, is, are you going to pick up everything? Are you going to come here right now? Like, they will offer the job as like in a conversation like we're having between two people and say, "Hey, come take this." And if they don't say yes, it's kind of like null and void right there. But if they say yes, then in like 3 days you expect to see a video. Like even with Tate, obviously he couldn't leave with the teaching job. That was a different scenario, but he still drove like 7 fucking hours to go shoot free throws with those guys. That was that commitment that everyone was looking for, and then it showed its face. Like the actions spoke louder than just the words.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like I said, I keep going back to matters because that's the easiest thing to talk about. Like Menner's always criticized everything that every person does. He criticizes John for not doing whatever he can to get the job, right?
Yeah.
Like, what's Menner's doing? Oh, I sold my cafe. I don't want to turn this into a Menner's bashing, but it's easy. I sold my cafe. I'm doing this. I'm doing all that fun stuff. Like, what's he doing, right? He supposedly can move now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, Don. I talk fast when I get excited. I'll try to slow my cadence just for you. But yeah, so we'll see what Mutt does. We'll see what happens. We'll see how the debut of the show goes. Don't listen to Menners and unsubscribe from the Mutt Stack if you are subscribed, if you enjoy it. Like I read it today and it honestly wasn't that bad. I liked it for what it was. Maybe it's because I went in there not expecting to be blown away. So
mhm.
therefore when I read it, I was just like, "Oh, this is just a nice easy read." But if you guys are expecting it to be like this above every single newsletter you've ever seen in your life, amazing piece of content that should earn him millions and millions of dollars, you're not going to be excited. But I I liked it, and he could easily integrate that into the Barstool world, which is probably why I was also upset, because since he's blogging and Barstool is built off of blogging and now obviously video form content, but mainly, that was their roots.
Mhm.
He could integrate the Mustache easily. But we'll see how it all goes. This Thursday is his debut, so we're especially going to see how that future is going to be like for the next 8 weeks. Um,
I was gonna say, I hope we get a show on Friday just for the reaction.
oh, I'm
Obviously,
I'm I'm sure. I'm sure we will, and it should be exciting. And there you go. And Don makes a point right there. Mutt's a grown man. Everyone should respect his decision. Yep.
Yeah.
And I said the same thing to him. I kind of like reached out to Mutt to say, hey, man, I know, like, from dad to dad, family, family, I want you to do this. And he's like, thanks, facts, blah, blah, blah. But regardless, you know, I told him, like, good luck with everything because, yes, he is a grown man. He is a grown man. We don't need to be pushing him in a direction he doesn't want to go at the end of the day. It's shitty. I think it's shitty for sure. But he's his own dude.
Like, that's a good example, though, right? Because Don's coming out and saying it, but Don's saying that respect. There are a lot of people who are just coming out and criticizing him just because Menners says it. All the Menners
cool
Live fan, yeah. But really, all those people that still subscribe, all those people still listen, they'll all go follow Mutt. They'll all go do all that, which is where it becomes hypocritical, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's going to happen, one, on the internet, and two, within this universe, because people want to go with the flow. They want everyone to be like, they want to be on the tail end of everyone else's take and take it with you. Like, people hate that I enjoy the show. People hate that I criticize what I criticize. People hate how I fucking talk, but it doesn't matter. It's the internet. This is all just for kicks and giggles, man. Like, you know, you're allowed to have an opinion, like was Don is saying, you know, respect the decision, grown man, he'll figure it out. But moving on from Mutt, because we don't want to take all of our time, we need to loosely mention what happened yesterday, only because I said it in a public forum, that the lock of the week was Florida plus 2.5. If you guys did not watch the game, that did not happen.
It was close.
It was
very
close. It was close if Miami would have scored roughly 29 less points. They would have, then Florida would have covered. I think that's what it was. It was like, what, 48-17, 41-17?
I think that's what the final was. It was
yeah,
right
once
around,
I got into the 40s, I was too depressed to actually keep it in my brain. So that was over. But the good news is Lagway went out there, threw the ball around a little bit, gave people some hope. Dan, you had told me that he's actually pretty good in NCAA.
Yep.
So people know his name. And obviously, he's a huge recruit coming out of high school. He chose Florida over every other top SEC school. So
I got to be brutally honest. I didn't know who he was until I started playing college football 25, though. Like, because you always heard about Mertz. You always heard about that because I knew who he was because I follow it enough to where I know who Mertz is, obviously. Because the Big
from
Ten,
Wisconsin. Mm-hmm.
I had no idea who Lagway was until I started going through the rosters on college football 25. And I was like, oh, 88 speed. Okay, that's a good start right there. We'll start with that. Like, and then you see the size and everything. And he's going to be a monster. Like, he is.
Oh, yeah. He is that dual threat that Florida needs. Florida does not need a game manager. They need somebody to open up the offense with their legs and their arm. And I didn't know who he was either until Florida announced they recruited him because I'm not keeping up with Texas high school football, believe it or not. But yeah, when he did get recruited, I knew who he was. Didn't know really what he could do, but I'm happy to see that he seemed to have a lot more movement than Graham Mertz did. So there's hope for the future. Jackson, this is none other than Minadan. Minadan the man. So there you go. Happy to see you, though, buddy. I'm glad you're in. But yeah, so sorry to everybody. I doubt that anybody listened to me. Robbie V's lock of the week did hit, by the way. Easy pick. Penn State looking like a beast. So thank you to Robbie V for that one. But for me, I'm sorry. For the maybe one person that listened to me and was like, you know what, fuck it, I'll go with facts for this one. I am so sorry.
I'll just say fade the facts is all I'm going to say.
Yeah. Fade the facts. That's going to be the new thing. So moving on from sports, we got Kirk today. Today, you saw it on Twitter because we talked about it very briefly before we started here. But the Boston Globe seems to be trying to take credit for the Case Season 2's hard work. And they're pretty adamant about it too. They were going in all the way up to the point where obviously the tweet picked up tons and tons of traffic, but then it got context, like the reader's context that Twitter does. The tweet from the Boston Globe got that, and then it said, here, hold on. I'll pull it up and I'll just read verbatim so it's a lot easier. But it said, the story was broken and investigated. Readers added context. This story was broken and investigated in the Case podcast by Kirk Minahan in 2022. Because Victoria McRain had originally said earlier this morning, this story was broken by and continues to be owned by at Laura Cromaldi of Boston Globe. I recommend you read her coverage to get a full sense of the horror. And that just, everybody knew that wasn't true. Everybody, I feel like she knew that wasn't true. You know?
Yeah.
It was just like, why would you? I don't understand why people, especially after all the coverage it got over these past few days, ever since the arrest happened, the only things that you were seeing, maybe it's just because our pages, our algorithms are like built like that, but everything I saw involving this case had mention of the Case podcast. So for her to say this and come out and claim that after everyone had already been talking about and basically congratulating Kirk for solving another murder was a wild, wild fucking move.
This is how the Globe has always operated, though, since he's been at EI. And I think maybe the EI people will understand it, not necessarily the Barstool people. They never give him credit for anything. They never have. When he was in the ratings book, they would never talk about it. Chad Finn would never write any good things. He would only write the bad things. So I don't know why people are surprised that it's the Globe and that he's fought this battle since EI.
Yeah, so I had as I am catching up and watching previous episodes, I'd seen little snippets about him, like talking about not giving EEI any ammo, and also he had a couple of mentions about the Globe, but I didn't know it was as consistent as you're saying it was. I thought these were just like one-off things. It's obviously because I haven't been keeping up. I haven't seen every single old episode. I haven't seen the pattern, but to know that that's that consistent is just fucking crazy. I mean, it's obviously the media world. This is going to happen in every single media outlet, no matter what state, city, or town that you're in. But for them to do something like that, especially with what happened, what this happened to be about, this was about a murder of a young girl that got solved by somebody, and they're that adamant about taking the credit. That's insane. That's where I was kind of like blown away. Is they're just essentially trying to take advantage of the death of a girl and the arrest of a Boston police officer and use it to their credit. That's beyond fucked up. That's where I'd be pissed if I was Kirk. Because he knows they're gonna take his credit. He's known it, but for this one specifically, wow.
They never give him a win, though. Like I said, they never will. I mean, think about it this way. Even Dave was on Nurse Kim's YouTube live. I was watching it a little bit, and Dave made an appearance and talked about the Birchmore stuff. So, like, although he's a friend of hers, if Dave's coming on to talk about it, at least she's. Yeah, I was gonna say, like Don, that's the easiest way to explain it. Facts is that it's.
And that's where Fenway Park comes into the mix.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I've heard that mentioned. I just haven't heard the origin yet. Okay. I mean, wow, Boston. He's in the thick of it. I mean, once they find out that he's the one who killed Aaron Hernandez, I feel like maybe they'll cover that then too. That's the only bad that they talk about. Once that documentary comes out.
Somehow they'll say Kirk committed it, and then that'll be the one time where they will credit him. They'll be like, "Oh yeah, he was the main guy.
He was solely responsible for the suicide of Aaron Hernandez."
Yeah. It's sad, but that'll be true, unfortunately.
I can't wait for that one. Then I'm excited because since I got a miss on all the live coverage of these rivalries, and now I kind of get to see this fire be ignited again. This is going to be my first time kind of seeing this a little bit of back and forth. I hope it's not just a one-off on the show. I hope there's a little bit more, but it'll be exciting because I can see why everyone was saying, oh, the show was a lot more entertaining when there were big enemies and it was a bigger back and forth, and Kirk has clearly mellowed out over time. But it would be cool to see maybe, a little bit more with this going on.
I don't think it's mellowed out. I think it's more of pick your battles with him.
Okay.
There's no point to, obviously with this, he's going to talk about this. There's just no way he retweeted it the minute it got tweeted out from the Globe.
Yep.
So it's just, that's going to happen. I just don't think he clearly doesn't pay attention. I don't even think that's the right way to say it. He doesn't pay attention as much as he used to the Boston stuff. Like he is out of the Karen Reed stuff, which a lot of people are, but like he doesn't care about it. And that's not a discredit to him, but I think he blocks it out and looks for the bigger issues that he can fight about.
I think it's probably more of a fair assessment. I remember I had said Kirk had gotten a little softer over the years, and that was that one Mike in the Minifans where he had hopped on. And the second that he hopped on, he's like, "Yeah, keep calling me soft." And I was like, "Well, that's not really what I meant, man." But then Vodka took over for me, so I appreciated that. He go ahead and started freaking out. So shout out to Vodka. Really,
Vodka's a great shield
that night. Yeah. But that was good. Very interesting story though. I'm excited to see how it develops. I guess the way we'll kind of top this off for tonight is I was curious about you. Open up about your Minifandom, how you kind of got introduced to the show, anything that you've seen, like your favorite kind of stuff. Because as someone, for me, who's still new to this and learning different things, I've gotten some tips from Freddie Lynn. I've gotten some tips from Manners. Sneaks showed me his episode. That was the one fucking episode he told me to watch, which I watched today. So I did see it today, Sneaks. I've seen it. You did not look as good as you thought you did, but I was glad to see you on there. But if you want to get into it, Dan, kind of like where you started, how this all came about before we head out of here.
Yeah, so I have family that lives in Boston. That's the easiest way to explain it. Every time I would go, my uncle would have EI on. And so naturally, I'm a sports guy, always have been, still love it. So I was like, okay, I got to find the sports radio or TV show. This was when they simulcasted on Nesson when I started watching.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I got to watch something, not Sports Center, but like something, because I was a Red Sox fan. And then I started going there, started visiting every couple months. I was like, okay, like it's not bad, but they're going away from sports. I don't really mind it though. It's a mix up. It's not just the same highlights every 2 seconds, and we go away from that, and then we replay it for 6 hours, blah blah blah, all the same stuff that ESPN does. So, anyways, I kept following along, and then the Barstool stuff happened, and I really just latched on because I didn't really know much about Portnoy, honestly, until I started listening to Kirk. I never, because I'm not from that area. It never really applied to me.
Yep.
Anything like that, as bad as that sounds. But like, I started listening then, and then I was like, okay, here's Big Cat. And I never knew who Big Cat was. I didn't know who any of the Barstool personalities were. But then I went the opposite way of you. I would say I started following Big Cat more, and I started following everybody else more on the Barstool side. Obviously not to the same effect as I do Kirk, but that's just the way it is. Now you realize, like, somebody like Big Cat, who's as big a fan as he is, and you realize just how big of a fan he is and how much he follows. So, like, that interests me as well. So that's the easiest way to explain it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, mine, because obviously everyone knows who at least has seen me throughout, like, the Kirkman Network shows, that, like, I became a big fan, like, actually following Kirk religiously after I saw him on Barstool Survivor and the Writers Cup, because him calling Dave a cunt was fucking hilarious to me. And I was like, oh man, this guy don't give a fuck. I'm like, that's the kind of content I like to see. Somebody who just, says whatever. So started listening to him, came into that. But before that, my buddy just one day randomly in high school, and I'm sorry to make everybody else feel old, but this is high school back in 2016. My senior year, and my buddy just came up to me one day and he's like, hey man, I have a podcast for you. And I was like, what the fuck is a podcast? And then he was like, it's just like a radio show that's pre-recorded essentially. And I was like, all right. So he's like, you should listen to this show. It's called Pardon My Take. He's like, it's just your vibe. It's exactly how you talk. Right. It's blah, blah, blah. So I started listening to that. And then from that point on, I was kind of hooked from PMT from 2016 all the way up until I slowly kind of got into more content over the past few years. And then when I got into Kirk, that was like right after I got into Bustin' with the Boys too, because I had met their producer and Taylor and Will at a live event in South Carolina, and they were very nice. So I was like, oh, I'm going to check out their content. I thought they were kind of douchey, but that's cool that they're nice.
Yeah.
So like, I guess I'll give their podcast a listen because I knew who they were, but I didn't listen to their shit. So it was just really those three. And then I tried to listen to Spit and Chicklets every now and then because I'm trying to get into hockey. So that's like my 4 shows I listen to. I tried the other content, like on YouTube, especially with the Chicago office. They were pushing out a lot of content, and I was watching it for a little bit, but I never really, I didn't cling on. After a while, I was like, ugh, I don't care about this. Like the Yak, I don't care for it. Like I'm glad people like it, but I don't. ZBT, I listened to clips ever since I joined the Army. So, but then, you know, we all know how that went. So I don't watch that shit anymore because I don't like the fucking guy who runs it. And then, really, other than that, now it's just these 4 shows and Kirk mostly. He's what I primarily watch. I put aside the other 3 to watch this just because I like the universe, I like the lore, all of it's fun. But seeing fans who have come back all the way from EI to YouTube and Barstool is, to me at least, it's fucking crazy because for me, radio in Wisconsin is not like radio that you guys talk about. There's not a dude in Wisconsin who's like that.
Respectfully, I'm from Syracuse, New York, so it's the same exact small town kind of radio that.
Well, even like probably throughout the state of Wisconsin, you know how Wisconsin people are, being from upstate New York. They talk just like you do and the people around you do, but it's a whole state of those people who are just polite and say, "Hey, how are you?" It's kind of like fucking BA. They all talk like that, and no one's gonna have any controversy like they say. Like maybe when you go down to Milwaukee and Madison, but nowhere else, man. So to hear that people have gone from a dude on the radio and followed him to his sports media company is it's wild to me because I'm 25, young, and don't know shit. But like I'm happy to see.
I was gonna say you are a baby. Yeah. I would honestly recommend. I think it's called the Minifan Network.
Yeah, that's where I watch my clips.
I was gonna say DEC used to put out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a great way to listen to the old EI shows. I think that's the only one. I was gonna say Biodude, Jeepers.
Yeah, that was 3 years before I was born, Biodude.
10 years before me, Biodude is all I'm gonna say. Yeah, I mean, like that's a good way to listen. Like for me, like so me being obviously where I wasn't just traveling, like I missed a lot of the good EI moments just because like podcasting even for me wasn't a thing, and I was just like, okay, I'm not gonna pay for Nesson in New York. There's no point, and they wouldn't let me anyways. So I've started to go back through theirs and just start watching the Curtis clips that everybody used to talk about. Obviously Battle of the Brainless, the Michael Holly fights. I mean, the Fourier fights. And even honestly, I know Menner's talked about it. I know he promoted it a while ago. Enough About Me. I don't know if you've ever listened to that. I would recommend listening.
But
I would recommend listening to that because he talks to Fourier.
Okay.
Like for a while about the EI and like a bunch of that stuff. So like you see his fighting personality in that from then on, and then because I forgot who he fought with. Somebody's gonna remind me, and I'm gonna feel stupid. But there was somebody who we got in a big fight with on one of them, and they ended in like 2 minutes or something.
DEC.
No, he doesn't, Jackson. I'll tell you the answer.
Yeah, I don't. And also, I want to make this known right now, so in the future, there's no confusion. Anything that has to do with an acronym, if it's like an acronym for somebody's name, if it's an acronym for something, I don't know it. So the Army is low-key one of the worst places to be because they all talk in acronyms. I don't get them. I don't understand them. I never will. But DEC, I'm assuming it's somebody or something important. Dan, please enlighten me.
I actually don't know what it stands for, to be perfectly honest. I know I don't. Somebody's going to educate both of us because I don't know what it actually. I don't know how he came up with it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Lenny, that's right, Don. That was who it was. Lenny Dykstra. Facts.
Okay, that's who he was fighting.
Yeah.
Gotcha. All right. Well, there you go. Obviously, yeah, I still got a lot of catch up on. Okay. Drunk Era Curtis. So I was gonna guess, but it was a B. So because I seen Drunk Era Bruce, because it was a parody account of Bruce Springsteen, I'm assuming. And that dude is pretty funny. I like interacting with him on Twitter. He was. I was gonna say I know.
Yeah, sorry. I know DC's still in the world. I know that. I just don't know if he's as active. He's under his real name now. on
Oh,
Twitter,
okay.
as far as I know. I know MHB was his co-host.
There you go. Freddie
So,
just put it up for us.
yeah, it's good.
But
But
there
like,
you go. I'm gonna look into those as well then, so I
yeah,
can get in. But I appreciate you joining me today, Dan.
no problem. I appreciate you
This
having
was
me on.
awesome. Yeah, and thank you to all. Doesn't matter how many of you. Thank you to all for listening and seeing me just be flabbergasted by the most basic shit that you guys all already have known for years. That's going to continue every week. If you're a Minifan who wants to tell me how stupid I am or just educate me in general, please don't hesitate to reach out. I would love to have you on. All the way from the bottom, all the way up to the top, I'd love to have, from, let's see, Jackson. You're probably just going to be on here every week if I can't find anyone because, that's how it goes. John, Justin, Mike, Dave, I guess he's back. Kirk, anybody can come on and just tell me how stupid I am. I love it. It's fun shit. But I don't know if it's going to be every week, probably every other week like it was for these first 2 episodes, or just when I feel like it. But regardless, thank you for tuning in. Dan, thank you so much for joining me, telling me all the shit. I'm going to be looking into that Enough About Me stuff, and I'm going to try to be looking into that Minifan channel a little bit more because I have seen some clips in the past. But regardless, thank you for coming on. Awesome conversation. Glad we got your take on mud. Thank you for telling me how awful Florida is, but I am aware. And for the rest of you guys, have a good night. We're going to see you all later. Peace out.